Hey, greetings.
Hey, Ken, how's it going?
Pretty good. You sound loud and clear here. For anyone just joining this on the replay, we joined about 5 minutes early, so you guys can probably just, if you're listening to it on the replay recording, skip ahead 5 minutes here on the X Spaces recording.
Yes, spoken like a true professional. Thanks, Ken. Can tell you've done this before.
I've listened to a number of them where you join and you're trying to guess how far to skim forward ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hosted one before, and yeah, we had like a sort of 10-minute setup, but it had lots of technical issues. Like the speaker wasn't passing over; it wasn't letting me give admin rights to people. So yeah, we ended up having quite an extended preamble, and I was trying to figure out how to trim it off the start, but of the recording. But yeah, couldn't manage to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's always a good thing here to kind of set it up, and yeah, it does always seem that there's a technical challenge somewhere here.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Do you know who else is going to join us today?
Yeah, we'll have Steve Paladin from our side.
Yep.
I believe Langers is joining from Rocket Pool as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it from the speakers, and yeah, hopefully we get some community folks and yeah, some good questions as well.
Yeah. We always have a much bigger. I think it's just the time zones things, right? Like I think the Aussie time zones are poor for Europe and parts of the U.S. So like we get a lot of recorded re-listens within the first 24 hours. I've noticed.
Okay, cool.
When do you guys head off to Argentina here?
A couple of weeks. Yeah, it feels like it's coming up quickly.
Yeah, really fast.
Still a lot of preparations to do. It feels like we just got back from Singapore. So, but it's yeah, important to kind of, especially so soon after launch, to kind of hit the road show and meet community members, meet users and customers. So that's good.
Yeah.
What about yourself? Yeah, I think I saw you on some of the Rocket Pool lists. Oh, nice.
Yeah. We going to join my wife on I'll work remote, but I'll join her on a work trip next to this coming week, and then we head off. I think on the what is it? We're going to the 7th or 6th or whatever that is here coming up here, or the 8th, I guess it is, of November. We fly down, and then we're going to just do a little bit of hiking in there. I guess we're going to follow David Hoffman and not do anything extreme that he's doing, but enjoy a little bit of Patagonia since we're making the trek all the way down there. I do wish all the I really enjoy the pre-events to the dev cons and dev connects, which are usually the week before. And if I thought about it, I really should have done 3 weeks and did a little bit of trekking week 1 and then done the pre-event week, because I think the signal to noise ratio that week before the conference is always the best, and then the week of the conference it's just too much. I mean, it's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but it's crazy is a word for it. It's just it takes another week to sort out everything you heard and learned and communicated. So
exactly. Cool. So we got Steve Paladin just joined. So let me
testing. Am I here?
I can hear you. Yes.
Good. Hey, Ken.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thanks. I'm a little under the weather, so
no,
it's going to be our primary rep, but I'm also solo parenting.
Yeah, I was going to say I hear other Ethereans in the background there.
Right. Yeah, he's busy validating blocks.
Daddy, where's
Yeah, excellent. Okay.
Cool. Just give folks another minute or two to join.
Yeah. The plan is that he's watching the show while we speak, but as you can imagine, that's not always 100%.
Yeah, no worries. Always great to see the next one. And here's Langers here. We can promote him up, I suppose, too, here.
Good morning. I'm promoted.
Oh, you are promoted. Excellent. Okay. Awesome.
Congratulations on the promotion.
Yeah. All right. Well, I do see we're at the top of the hour. You want us to go ahead and get going here?
Well, you're the expert, Ken. What do you think? Do we give people another minute or two to join, or we just kick it off?
I think we kick it off here, and folks can join us here as it goes. But that way, the folks listening to replay here probably have joined us right around this timestamp, and will be a pretty good start here for it. So, for those just joining us, welcome very much. I'm Ken Smith. I get to host the Rocket Pool community calls just about every week now. And this week, I'm very glad to bring back a set of guests with us for it. Let's do a little bit of introductions. I guess first, we have Langers on the call. Langers, welcome. Everybody knows you.
Hello, everybody. Great to be here.
But then I'm also joined here with our special guest for it. And so we have both Steve and Ben from RockSolid here. You guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. I'll kick it off. This is Ben, Wardy_Ben on X, but I'm talking on the official account right now. I'm a co-founder and COO of RockSolid. Excited to be here.
Hi, Steve Pack, co-founder with Ben of RockSolid, Paladin on Discord, and looking forward to talking about everything RockSolid, Rocket Pool, and especially rETH vaults. Thanks for having us, Ken.
Yeah, no, it's an absolute pleasure. I was very excited to see you guys come up on the schedule here for the community call. And for those joining us, this is the second time they've been on. There was one right before their launch that I think was about just maybe 2 months ago, somewhere around there. I'm getting time blindness as I get older here, and things seem to be happening faster and faster. So maybe it's
like 100 years ago, Ken.
Yeah, I'm sure for you guys it probably does, right? Like it just it's moving. But I figured today what we'll do is we'll do a little bit of recap talking about RockSolid and maybe maybe kind of where they fit in the ecosystem or the Lego bricks of DeFi that we're building here with our liquid staking token. And maybe then I can have you guys do a little bit of retrospective about the launch and how that's went. And then I know there's a lot of things you guys want to talk about later on as the call progresses. But and I certainly invite as folks are listening here live, if you have questions, feel free to kind of raise your hand and ask questions for it. But maybe we'll start off, and I don't know which one to throw it to, either Ben or Steve. I understand you're a little under the weather, but you want to recap for us the origin story of RockSolid and kind of how that partnership happened with Rocket Pool?
Yeah, Steve, why don't you do this one?
Yeah, I guess the origin is I was a Rocket Pool, at least the origin as of 3 years ago or so. So I was running Rocket Pool nodes. I'd met the team at ETH Denver 2020 something. Myself had just been looking for ways to get more into Ethereum. I was just really into this confluence of finance and technology, and could see all this cool stuff being built, but wasn't sure what my part was, and found operating nodes for that sort of that combination of using sort of a tech background, using some finance knowledge, and making money and securing the network by doing something technical. And that was my entry, I guess, which is probably similar to a lot of folks into Rocket Pool and node operation. And not long after that, I was working as head of product at a zero knowledge blockchain called Mina, and I just really was taken by the Rocket Pool community and the Rocket Pool technology and Ethereum, and I wanted to be doing more in Ethereum. And so I was just always looking for ways to do that. And so it gets all a bit messy. I have an advisor friend who's a VC who says every startup journey is messy, and then you just rewrite it later in history to be a perfect sequence of events, even if that's not the way it went. And so we had lots of ideas. We were I met Ben at Mina. We were talking about all different ideas for Rocket Pool. I had talked to the core team about different ideas, pivoted a couple of times, but then kind of landed about a bit over 6 months ago on this notion that rETH was an amazing LST and was an amazing thing for Ethereum, but there was opportunity still for rETH to do better in DeFi, to be more integrated, to have more opportunities, and for rETH holders to have more that they could do with it. And And it was kind of that sort of realization, and that led to discussion of, well, what does that look like, and how could Ben and I do something in the space? And yeah, that was kind of the lead up to RockSolid Vaults.
Yeah, let me ask maybe two follow-up questions on that. I guess one is, and maybe Lingers, if we could bring you into the conversation, what was the, from your perspective, like what was kind of the origin story when the team here from RockSolid first kind of introduced the ideal or the concept for vaults with you? Like, what was it from your perspective?
Yeah, so I think at that stage, Saturn Zero had kind of happened, and we had flipped from being not being able to supply, essentially being supply constrained. In other words, we didn't have enough node operators to now we have loads of node operators and not enough rETH growth. So, or at least, there was this imbalance between the two. So, so at that point, rETH growth is extremely important. So we were very excited about the prospect of kind of like a vault strategy that augments kind of like rETH's value proposition to people. And there's actually a whole heap of really great advantages for Rocket Pool in general, having this vault strategy in place. And we can go to maybe a bit more, but first of all, kind of as Steve said, more integrations into DeFi, better yield opportunities for rETH holders, and just generally being able to allocate capital is really important. It's something that as a protocol we can't necessarily do because we don't have rETH. We're not capital allocators. We're like a neutral protocol. So so it's really exciting. It kind of like ticked a lot of boxes that we needed at the right time. So it was a fantastic opportunity.
Interesting. And so, one question, and I might have asked this last time, but one of the things I really enjoy about some of our community calls is we get to meet with protocols like RockSolid that are integrating Rocket Pool into their protocols, right? These DeFi Legos, and I'm still learning quite a bit about DeFi. It's one of the things I hope to accomplish in the coming weeks at DevCon is to really understand more of the DeFi ecosystem. But my question to kind of the RockSolid folks here is, fundamentally, like ELI5 it for me, like what is the problem that RockSolid is trying to solve? Like what value add do you bring, and what's the problem?
Yeah, I can take that one. I mean, explain it like F5. We're trying to make DeFi really easy to access. We're trying to make it as easy as a single click. rETH is a great asset. That's why we wanted to work with the Rocket Pool team. Like, we love that it's credibly neutral. We love that it's truly a decentralized community. Decentralization is a word that's thrown around a lot in crypto and sort of sadly loses all meaning. And there's a lot of this decentralization theater. Rocket Pool actually is decentralized, which is amazing to see. Sadly rare in crypto. And so because of all those reasons, like, rETH's a great asset and DeFi opportunities exist for rETH. But, maybe for someone even like yourself, Ken, like someone who's not deep in the DeFi trenches, you've got to go seek those opportunities. You've got to find them. You've got to do your own technical due diligence. Like, do I want to cross this bridge? Do I want to deploy into this new protocol? They're paying incentives, blah, blah, blah. Like, is that worth the risk? There's just a lot of work that needs to be done in order to access DeFi securely, and to get the best opportunities, like to get the real alpha, the real kind of almost insider opportunities. You really need to have those relationships and be in the know. And one of the dirty secrets that we've learned since working on RockSolid is, a lot of the best incentives, a lot of the best APRs, they're all negotiated in private backroom deals. You'll see these protocols launch and it's like, oh, wow, we got 100 million of TVL in the first 10 minutes of launch. And sorry, now we're like supply oversubscribed. All those deals are set up ahead of time with funds and whales and LPs. And so retail doesn't really get access to those opportunities. So it's a long-winded way of saying is we're trying to provide access to these types of things to the Rocket Pool community and to rETH holders. Like, we're getting out there, we're making DeFi easy, doing the due diligence for you, doing the active management and strategy monitoring for the depositors. And so just making it easy to earn higher APR on your rETH.
Thank you. That's actually a very very clear kind of explanation for me here. So then obviously, as you guys are looking, right, and you're figuring out in kind of your origin story that being I don't know what the correct word is, vault management. Like how would you describe yourself? What would be the term, the generic term you would give for a firm like RockSolid?
Yeah, I'd call this a vault solution, an end-to-end vault solution.
Okay.
Sort of single-click plug and play into Rocket Pool.
Yeah. So then, as a kind of a vault solution provider, why Rocket Pool? Why Rocket Pool, and why now?
Yeah, I think it's kind of what I said in my previous answer, was that both Steve and I were just really attracted to the values and the ethos of the Rocket Pool community. They're sadly rare, as I said. We believe in Ethereum. That's why we're all here. And, we honestly believe that, Rocket Pool is making Ethereum stronger by decentralizing the node operator set and living the core values that people are supposed to care about. So that's why we're attracted to Rocket Pool. And, I'm sure that's the same for everyone else in this call. But why we think we had this sort of unique value proposition to bring to Rocket Pool was a couple of reasons. The first was Rocket Pool rETH didn't have this type of product when we launched. If you look at competing protocols, LSTs and LRTs, Lido has one, EtherFi has one, Kelp has one. These have hundreds of millions, or even in some cases billions of dollars at all-time highs deployed into these vaults, and Rocket Pool didn't have one. So for this kind of passive DeFi user that wants to access higher yield in a vault without having to do the work, if they were an rETH holder, they didn't have access to those opportunities. So we were providing those opportunities. There was an opportunity to provide those opportunities to the Rocket Pool community.
Yeah, I'd add, Ben and Ken, there's also the size and scale of rETH as the asset. We can kind of get fixated sometimes on the growth, where it's like, oh, we want more rETH growth, and of course we do. But vaults benefit from scale, right? Because the more TVL you get, you get to sort of generate your own alpha, because you can, like Ben said, sort of negotiate deals on behalf of depositors in the protocol. And rETH, is somewhere, what is it, 2.8 billion, combining both the protocol and the node operator ETH. So we used to look at, okay, how much of rETH holdings did we have to convert, to kind of convince that the vault was the best place to park your rETH to generate additional rewards. And 5% is what, $140 million, and 10% would be $280 million. And that's a reasonable conversion rate, I think, to target. And yeah, we're only sort of a month in, and so just knowing that scale was there commercially meant it also was a really good choice for us.
Excellent. And then I wonder if you could, maybe take us back. I think it's been, like you said, a few months here since the launch of RockSolid. What, looking back at it and trying to be as, honest as you can without any revisionist history here, how do you think it's been going? Did it go as you expected? I know it was a big leap, and what's looking back now, what are you thinking?
Yeah, just to clarify one thing, we're only just a bit over 4 weeks from launch.
Oh wow! Okay, so just 1 month. Okay.
Yeah. So it's still a short time, and it's gone quickly. I'll tell you that. But yeah, how do we feel about it, and how do we think the launch went? Biased perspective from me, but I think it went well. If you look at, I guess there's a qualitative and a quantitative kind of way to look at it. Quantitatively, looking at sort of simple metrics like TVL or number of depositors, average deposit size, depending on the day of the week and the price of ETH. A few days ago, we were over 25 million of
wow.
dollar terms of TVL. The price of ETH since then has come down. In rETH terms, I think we're over 5,000 rETH deposited right now. which again is great. But the things that maybe sort of surprised me on the quantitative side was also just the number of depositors. It's been really kind of grassroots, small to medium-sized deposits, like lots of them that really came in. And so it's great to see just like participation from retail and just kind of regular community members. So that kind of makes me proud that we are living up to that sort of objective of ours to provide those opportunities to kind of smaller holders, not just whales and funds. But then the other thing I'd say, which again kind of has been great to see, is we have had a few, quite large deposits. And what's kind of interesting about that is we don't know who those depositors are. So, often what I've heard, speaking to other, teams that have run vaults for other protocols is, as I said, they're doing these private deals. It's, deposit $5 million and we'll give you this special incentive on the side that we don't sort of tell people about. None of that happened. We just had people sort of turning up and depositing literally millions of dollars in a click without reaching out to us, without us knowing who they are. So again, that's like really cool to see that our value proposition is resonating with whales as well, and that they have trust, for want of a better word, in the product. That's been really cool to see. So yeah, I think all those things have gone well. And then on the qualitative, go on. Sir.
Yeah, just a couple of things. And so you can go back to the qualitative as well, Ben. But the organic part, like that, it's both small, medium, and large, I think has been super exciting. And the number is good because, like, again, vaults sort of need scale to be super effective. But I would just add, what's exciting about it is, Ben said, like, we haven't used mercenary capital yet, whereas like a lot of protocols, it's literally just raise money from venture, like pay someone to deposit for months and make a number go up, right? And that's a totally valuable strategy because it shows, a viable and reasonable thing to do, because it does show trust. Like, people can say, okay, well, there's $50 million in this thing, like it's a honeypot, so if it's not been hacked, it's good. So it does serve a purpose, but it's less sticky. So to get to that number where we haven't deployed any of that is awesome. There's no looping strategy yet for the RockSolid Vault. Like there's no, and you were saying you're getting into DeFi, Ken, right? There's not a market yet, and we'll look at this, but there's not a market yet where you can deposit your rock.rETH receipt token as collateral to borrow rETH, which is generating rETH demand, yay, when it comes, and then deposit more into the vault. And that's a higher risk strategy, but that's the sort of thing that can drive TVL very quickly. And so, it's nice to know that we have that dry powder. And also, no token.
Sorry, Steve, just sorry, jumping in on you, jumping in on me.
Yeah, sure.
is on that looping thing, in crypto Twitter, this recent week, there's obviously been some criticism of that type of looping in other kind of vault style products that have been kind of a bit more opaque and less transparent about all of this. Just to be clear, like some of those other protocols have been criticized for kind of looping their own TVL and inflating their own TVL and kind of slightly shady and opaque practices. That's not what Steve's describing there. He's describing simply giving the depositor, the user, the opportunity to do that themselves if they want to lever up and amplify their returns, which anyone's welcome to do. But we're not sort of proposing that we would loop our own TVL recursively, which is kind of what some of these other vaults have been criticized for doing.
Yeah, no, thanks for clarifying. And the other one is, we don't have a points program or our own token yet, and that's still something that we're discussing. But those are all sort of what I would term as dry powder that are things we can do to look at the next phases of growth. So it's super exciting to be where we are after a month, but still have things to do. I will just caveat all of this though, and I'm sure this will come up more as we talk. Like the TVL number and like the success, that is kind of selfishly for us as a project. Like it's good, right? Number goes up, and it is better it is good for Rocket Pool, the protocol. But what is most important is our depositors, getting good returns, and having a good experience by depositing into the vault. And so those will be the numbers that I think will start to be more exciting to talk about, as some of these strategies start to pay off. And we can go into more detail, but some of them have future components, where it's like you deposit into a new protocol on a new chain and you get a modest return, but you accumulate points that you can then later, sell in an airdrop and capitalize that back onto the vault. So I like the TVL number. I like looking at the ways we can make it go up, but I'm also very much looking forward to sharing more about, the actual returns over time.
Excellent. And yeah, I'd love to explore some more of those kind of strategies in a little bit. It's a kind of a question I have in just a second. But before we get there, maybe I'll throw the next question back to Darren over here, which is, from the Rocket Pool perspective, how does the integration with RockSolid, how does it support node operations and kind of the broader, rETH ecosystem?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, as I said kind of before, the growth of the protocol kind of needs both sides to work together. So we've got node operator supply on one side, and we've got rETH demand on the other side, and so there's at the moment there's plenty of node operator supply, and this rETH kind of demand is kind of building up as well. So that's kind of one way in which it supports. So essentially, it kind of matches with node operator ETH. So that's kind of the main way in which it supports node operators, is being able to deposit more validators and grow the protocol.
Yeah, and maybe just to jump in on that as well, I've actually got some sort of data to support that. And actually, I'm gonna give a shout out to Trooper on Discord, who we were having a conversation about what's the amount of sort of new rETH that was minted or swapped into as a result of deposits into this vault. And Trooper ran a June query on that. But yeah, as I said earlier, we've got about a bit over 5,000 rETH in the vault. About 1,200 of that rETH kind of already existed. So they were like existing rETH depositors who deposited straight in the vault. But interestingly and importantly to that kind of demand aspect that Langers was just talking about, almost 4,000 rETH that is now in the vault was not rETH when it was deposited. So it either started as ETH, staked ETH, something else, and was then swapped into rETH in order to sort of access that vault. So that's, 4,000, more than 4,000 rETH that was kind of, I'd love to say minted, most likely swapped into due to the current discount. But by swapping into that, that's, narrowing the discount. So yeah, it's kind of 4,000 rETH worth of demand that the vault has generated just via deposits in the first month. And on top of that, we do some low LTV looping within the vault, which also generates further rETH buying pressure as well. So yeah, just add a little bit of numbers, I guess, to the point that Langers was making.
Yeah, no, that's really impressive there, and I appreciate that, and definitely the shout out to Trooper to try to do that, because I was wondering. I mean, certainly as Langer said, it was kind of obvious that the integration of the vault and RockSolid's vault strategy would add demand, and so now it's very helpful to kind of see to see that we can actually measure it right in there. And so yeah, I look very much to kind of understanding those numbers that are in there and looking at them for it. So yeah, that's great to know we can actually quantify and measure that in there. So I guess one of the questions I have for maybe both, but maybe Langers, let me ask you first, and then I'll ask the RockSolid folks. But kind of same question, which is, so what are, besides the rETH demand that you mentioned, what are some of the other early wins for this partnership or this integration?
Yeah, so I mean, another thing that kind of helps is drive Rocket Pool forward is so obviously to get the yield for the vault, things need to be integrated into protocols. We need to be on more chains and all of that sort of thing. So there's a whole heap of work that we're doing to support RockSolid so that they can take advantage of those opportunities. So, for example, being on new chains and getting kind of incentives via that. Kind of when a new chain comes online, generally they provide incentives and extra yield and all that sort of thing. So being on new chains, being on different protocols, different strategies. So it's all kind of like expanding that rETH utility, which is a really great really great thing.
And then what about from the RockSolid side, Ben or Steve? Any thoughts besides the demand for new rETH? Some of the early wins that have been seen.
Yeah, I think like to provide a couple of tangible examples, we've kind of to what Langer said at the start of the call, being an asset allocator by having this kind of bucket of rETH liquidity, basically, that we can sort of shop around, for want of a better word, to other DeFi protocols for incentives. It's really quite sort of surprising the amount of bargaining power that gives you. Like once you have this money and new DeFi protocols that are starting up, new L2s, new chains, like they want this liquidity, you are able to negotiate preferential incentives. So yeah, a couple of early examples of that. A new L2 Hemi. rETH was not previously supported there. We got them to support that integration and provide preferential incentives on a sushi market there. So we have capital deployed into that and are harvesting those incentives. So that's about 8% APR on that strategy. So that's benefiting depositors, but it's also put rETH in other places that it wasn't before, which is cool. And I don't want to drop other names, don't want to sort of jinx it, but we're chatting to some other high-profile L2s that have launched or are about to launch, where rETH isn't currently supported, and yeah, we're getting traction there as well. So yeah, it'll be cool to see rETH on some of these high-profile launches that are coming up.
Yeah. Just one point of clarification or question. I saw Halu posted in trading. He thought it was going back to what was new rETH minted versus deposited, the like 1,200 versus 4,000. He thought it was the other way around. I think, Ben, your take from Trooper's data was it was that way around. So maybe we can review that after the call and see. Yeah, but thanks for posting.
But for what it's worth, actually, just to jump on that for a second, we had run similar analysis ourselves internally, perhaps a different methodology than what Trooper said. But yeah, our internal analysis had shown like several thousand of new rETH as well. So, but yeah, we can follow up on that with our data as well.
Yeah, I suppose that's one nice thing about just the blockchain in general, right? A lot of it's kind of verifiable, and folks can do the independent work and double check the numbers. But it's still great whether it's single thousands or multiple thousands of quote unquote freshly minted or freshly acquired, even if it's in an open market. It's just excellent growth, and that's absolutely, I agree with Darren here. That's absolutely what Rocket Pool needs, is to grow the attractiveness and the value proposition of if you're going to be an LST holder, why pick rETH? And I think that growth is just excellent. So now maybe let's go back to a little bit of the DeFi strategies that Ben and Steve, you were talking about. What's kind of your philosophy or your methodology for selecting DeFi strategies to deploy into? Is it a Ouija board? Is it something more than that? Maybe walk us through that.
Yeah, I can sort of take the first stab, and Steve, you can jump in if you want. I mean, there's a couple of I'd say there's like 3 overarching guiding principles that we use. The first is that we seek the best risk-adjusted rewards, and I really want to emphasize risk adjusted in that sentence. What that means is we're not just YOLOing into the, whatever on paper appears to be the highest APR strategy. If it's risky, or if it's on a not battle tested protocol, or if there's a weird bridge involved, or we think the incentives are unsustainable, etc., etc. Also, what that means is we're not engaging in a ton of leverage. Leverage obviously adds risk. Leverage adds like liquidity risk, and depeg risk. And we saw some vaults struggle with that on October 10 with the sort of flash crash that happened. And we've seen some of these other vaults be criticized in the last week because of their sort of looping their own vault receipt token in order to inflate their TVL and inflate returns. So why I mention those specifically is that we're not doing those things. We're seeking the best risk-adjusted reward, and we're trying to not take silly risks and not just chase the highest headline number. So that's the first guiding principle. The second guiding principle is that we're trying to benefit rETH and the Rocket Pool community for the reasons that we've already discussed. And that has a couple of practical implications when it comes to strategy selection. The first is that sort of in the first instance, we can only pursue strategies where rETH is sort of accepted as collateral within, or an asset within them. That's not the full universe of strategies that exist out there. And often what we see with a lot of new incentive campaigns is that they, typically only accept ETH or wrapped ETH, or maybe like, maybe staked ETH, maybe Lido, maybe ETHify, just like the very, very biggest ones that have this war chest of capital that they can allocate. And, they're often doing sort of deals in the background as well. So in situations where rETH isn't accepted, what we do, again, under the auspices of this ETH alignment, is that we don't go and sell rETH. We don't go, say, trade rETH for ETH or staked ETH on a secondary market in order to post that collateral in these strategies. We borrow against the rETH. So to use a real example, Katana, which is in UL2, they're running an incentive campaign. They don't accept rETH as an asset. We're trying to get them to accept rETH. We're in those conversations. But in the meantime, in order to access those incentives, what we do is we take rETH, we deposit it into Spark, and then borrow wrapped ETH against it. And then we go and deposit that wrapped ETH into the underlying strategy. Why I call that out, though, is for two reasons. Like, one, for the reasons that we said originally, like we're trying to generate rETH demand. So we don't want to sell rETH in order to access these strategies. So that's why we sort of take that approach that we do. But the cost, quote unquote, of that is that we have to pay this borrow cost on the wrapped ETH. So that does actually reduce the APR of our strategies. If we were kind of completely mercenary and didn't care about rETH, the APR would be higher by the increment of that borrow cost. But we don't do that because we try to stay community aligned. But yeah, the impact of that is that it lowers the potential APRs that can be earned on the vault. So that's the other kind of overarching philosophy. And then, the other, I guess, philosophy as well is around transparency. So we publish weekly strategy reports where we show the exact allocations, the exact APRs that are being earned by each strategy, and then how that builds up to the headline APR that we're that is being earned. And we make sure that all of that can be validated on DBank and other places, so that you can see all these assets on chain. And we try to communicate about this really clearly and transparently, like avoiding jargon and avoiding opacity that you've seen in some of these other vaults getting criticized in the last week. Like, we really try to communicate as clearly and transparently as possible. So all of that is to say we take those three kind of overarching philosophies and then look at strategies against those. Like, are they a good risk-adjusted return? Are they rETH aligned, or can they be accessed with rETH? And are we able to like clearly and transparently communicate about these strategies in a way that we feel comfortable about? So yeah, that's kind of what we do. And then we look at the universe of opportunities out there. We have the professional asset manager that we work with, curator, called Tulipa Capital. They manage several $100 million of ETH. in various different DeFi strategies, and they're the ones, they're kind of like the tip of the spear at the bleeding edge, like identifying new strategies, like, hey, like Kraken's about to launch a new L2, like they're paying XYZ incentives, blah, 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 blah. So they're kind of out there helping source these things as well. Steve, was there anything you wanted to add to that?
Just that, we work in concert with Tulipa Capital as our strategy manager. So, we as RockSolid, built out the Vault platform. But yeah, we from day one incorporated, a professional organization that's been doing this with many hundreds of millions of dollars for a long time. And so it's that relationship and sometimes even tension in a way where it's like, they are out there always finding like the best opportunities and bringing them to us. And then we kind of like filter it through that protocol alignment. And sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes it's like, can we change this? And sometimes it's like, I don't think that's going to fly. And so, yeah, that's another important layer into how we choose strategies from the universe that's out there.
Yeah, let me ask kind of a follow-up question on that. I guess one of my next questions is sort of like, where does the yield come from? But I think Ben, you described it pretty well. But let me just see if I understand your. I think you called it a strategy report. I mean, if if I'm considering, if I'm an rETH holder and I'm considering, I guess, investing or depositing into the RockSolid vault strategy here. What do I see? Do I see a perspective about the types of strategies that you're using, or do I just look at monthly historical reports that kind of show the types of investments or the types of integrations you've done and the individual or the percentage of yield from each one, that I can kind of get a sense as to where the yield's coming from? Like, what information do you provide the end depositor?
Yeah, it's the latter, Ken. So if you navigate to the Vault page, right down the bottom, there's a table called Portfolio, a headlined portfolio. We update this each week for the prior week's set of strategies. And yeah, we show in quite granular detail what's the percentage allocation to that strategy, what's the APR being earned by that strategy. And then we break that down between realized APR, so they're like rewards or returns that have already sort of accrued to the vault, and sort of upcoming APR. And so these would be things like what Steve mentioned earlier on the call, like incentive campaigns that, like let's look at the report. We'll use a real example. Katana, yeah, Katana still hasn't been paid out yet. So we're in this Katana campaign. By having the TVL deployed, we're accruing tokens that will be airdropped in the future. They haven't been received yet, but when they do, that will then accrue to the underlying vault shares. But yeah, we sort of break out in the APR what percentage is being realized and what is accruing to be sort of paid out in the future.
Yeah, I'll just add one thing there, Ken. The way you described it is right. Like being able to look at the strategy report for prior weeks will show you how the strategies have evolved over time. But it is important, I think, when folks are positing, like you can look at what the strategies are today, but the whole point is that like the vault is like actively managed, right? There is a strategy manager looking for both new opportunities and when existing opportunities are no longer like the best. And so like it gives you information by looking at strategies over time, but you shouldn't ever assume like, oh, this is all it's going to be, because it's not, right? It's like you're making the conscious decision that I want my rETH moved around DeFi, to earn these rewards, not just that I want it in these strategies forever. If that's what you wanted, then you should just go do, just copy the strategies and do it yourself. Yeah, it's an important difference.
Yeah. The value proposition is that by contributing into the vault, you're subscribing to some actively managed investment strategy, right? And so we're relying upon you and your kind of algorithms and your advisors to make that the strategic plays in order to gain that additional APR. But how would I, as a potential investor or potential depositor, how would I evaluate the risks? Like what should I consider when I'm looking at at subscribing to the vault?
Yeah, well, I think there's two ways to do that. I mean, one, we have a sort of our doc section just talks about risks in general, risks of DeFi, risks of the vault. So read that, and we've got sort of a full risks disclosure in our terms of service as well. But the way to kind of, I think there's two other things I'd say. Like, read the portfolio, the strategy report at the bottom. We describe in quite granular detail what it is that we're actually doing. Granted, though, that to sort of be able to interpret, let me just read it. It's, we're depositing in Yearn on Katana. We're depositing in Euler on Linnea. Like, that requires some level of knowledge to know what those protocols are and what the underlying risks of those protocols are as well. But sort of as Steve said, like, an element of this is, and this is by design, like it's delegated trust. Like, you are trusting the professional strategy manager. You're trusting trusting the kind of risk frameworks and the monitoring that we're doing, and you can verify all of these allocations on chain as well. But yeah, there is kind of ultimately that level of trust to like a professional DeFi strategy manager. Like, Steve, is there anything you'd want to add to that?
Yeah, I think if you're really interested in risk, starting at the docs is the right way. And then if you want to go deep in the terms, as you said, Ben, but you can highlight them. It's similar to a lot of DeFi, right? Like any hack that you've ever heard about in DeFi, or maybe not just hack, but like things that have gone wrong, like those things can go wrong. But what we talk about in the docs is how we mitigate those in both the design of the system and the operations of the system. But just like laundry list, right? Like smart contracts, smart contracts sometimes have bugs. Bridges have really hardened a lot over the last couple of years, which is nice. But, anytime you lock up rETH on mainnet and bridge it somewhere else, you are relying on that bridge to be able to bring the funds back. And so, again, working with Juniper, like we look at what bridges are involved, and we look at what the smart contract risks are involved, and all those things. But it's still a frontier technology. So we inherit the risks of DeFi, and we do our best to mitigate them, and give a good experience to depositors.
Excellent. So let me ask one more question, just to show the RockSolid group here, which is, how do you compare your vault with other vaults that are out there?
I'll take that, Stephen. You can jump in. I'd say it's two main things. I don't want to just repeat what we've already said, but the rocket pool alignment is obviously a key differentiator. No one else has that, and that really is part of the mandate of this vault. But the other thing I'd say is like really focusing on transparency and communication, and not just YOLOing into like the highest yielding opportunities that are out there. And like, as a result of that, like, our vault is not going to be the highest APR. Like, you'll see other vaults out there that have higher numbers. The TVLs may be bigger. The headline APR number is bigger. But, without being too cynical, I think if you scratch the surface, like, part of that is sort of fake recursive self-looping in the ways that we've seen be criticized over the last week. And part of it is kind of high risk, that it works until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, suddenly depositors aren't able to access their liquidity, or there's capital loss, or, there's very, long times to unwind these highly leveraged positions. So, we're really trying to be responsible and be transparent and seek the best risk-adjusted return, which is not going to be the highest return. But yeah, we're trying to differentiate ourselves on those dimensions.
Yeah, I'd echo that. Like, there are vaults out there that have a good number that's essentially like deposit ETH, like borrow a stable against it at a quite high LTV, where if ETH goes down, you get liquidated. then take that USDC, like do it in a deposit it into a yield farming opportunity, which might be like backed by some very questionable collateral that you can't even identify, let alone, you know, ever hope to have a claim on as just a depositor in the smart contract, and loop that, and you end up with this high number. But it's like there are just multiple ways where that can all blow up and to lose capital, and those ways are quite like expected. You know, it's almost like you would expect it to happen over a reasonable time frame. So yeah, I'd say, as Ben said, and that's kind of encapsulated in part of the branding as well, like RockSolid. You know, it should be good returns, yes, like but you know, it needs to be rock solid, and these things change over time, right? Like that's another thing with the active management. Like there are times when like looping is a quite profitable strategy. There are times when yield farming can be done in a reasonably risk-adjusted way, and there are times when it's just not, like a lot of opportunities. So, you know, the returns of the vault will go up and down with those things as well. But I think for you know, for us and at least like for the depositors that we are in contact with, like we think that's the right sort of balance.
Excellent. Well, let's pivot just for a second. We've talked a lot about maybe the short history of RockSolid, the genesis of it, the launch, and kind of your current DeFi strategies and integrations. But let's maybe kind of do a little forward projection here, and maybe if I could ask all three of you to tell me about things that you're excited about for kind of RockSolid and Rocket Pool. And let me again start with Langers from kind of the Rocket Pool side of the house. What are some of the things you're excited about in terms of this integration?
Yeah, so I think it has an awful lot of opportunity. An awful lot of, gives us a big advantage in terms of, as we've kind of like said before, in terms of capital allocation, being able to make those deals that we wouldn't have done previously. I think coming into the fact that we've got Saturn coming up in January, our supply side will kind of scale even further. So, you know, having some support on the demand side as well is really good. I think we've kind of like spoken a little bit about with the RockSolid guys about how they could potentially help institutions, and because they have complex kind of reporting requirements and that sort of thing, and so they could potentially help those guys in terms of some of that. But yeah, so you know, it really does help us kind of like going forward with the expanded capacity that Saturn gives us, but also the changes in withdrawal liquidity and all of that sort of thing. That also you know, supports the vault as we go to new chains. You know, all of those things are kind of like moving forward, moving rETH forward as an asset, which is definitely a fantastic thing.
Yeah, I mean, like when I think of the future, like let's say, I don't know, 6 months from now, you know, I'd love to see, you know, something like 20,000 rETH in the vault, $100 million equivalent of TVL. And yeah, maybe that's being achieved, as Langer said, through things like institutional partnerships, working with digital asset treasuries, things like that, and also just, you know, more organic growth through the community. That's just such a powerful war chest when it comes to capital allocation, as Langer said. Like, you can just imagine the conversation with a new chain, with a new DeFi protocol, like, hey, we've got $100 million of TVL. What are you going to give us for it? That really makes people start to pay attention to rETH, and you know, you won't be able to ignore rETH anymore if you're a new chain, new DeFi protocol, and rETH isn't listed as you know, a deposit asset. Like, we're really going to have bargaining power and leverage to be able to negotiate that. So yeah, that's the kind of future that I see like 6 months from now, and I think that's really exciting RockSolid, and I think that's really exciting for the Rocket Pool community and for rETH because, yeah, it'll just be easy to get those integrations.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely. And like, RockSolid as a business thrives as TVL goes up. So, obviously, increasing TVL, and there's a lot of rETH out there still to convert. So, we have a long, road and really big opportunity in front of us. I think I'm most excited about the Saturn stuff as a rocket pooler, right? Like, I think we have had this sort of long period of just like stability, right? Which actually for an LST is also valuable. But the community is like ready for the next phase, and I think like as the Saturn dates really start to clarify, and as I think it's okay to share, right? Lang is like there will be some marketing coming up like around around that. Yeah. And so I think like being able to like, I don't know, like maybe it's too much to say kick off a new era, but like there's definitely a new sort of like time ahead for Rocket Pool with, both the Vault, but especially with Saturn and, some of the things that brings, like, especially the sort of market dynamics where, like being able to choose how much RPL you stake or don't stake. I just think like and actually giving the DAO the ability to vote on how protocol inflation is, like what it is and how it's distributed. Like I just think this sort of like realigning Rocket Pool the protocol to be able to take market signals, I just think it's going to be really interesting because the market is getting more and more sophisticated, and we can start to do interesting things around like where do we want to direct protocol revenue, right? Like, is it to node operators? Like, is it back to rETH? Is it to like some other thing that we don't even know about yet, but like emerges over the next 6 months because it's DeFi, right? Everything will look different in 6 months. So I just think it's a really exciting time, for Rocket Pool the protocol, and as an ecosystem participant, by extension to RockSolid as well.
That's excellent. And yeah, let me. I know we've been asking lots of questions back and forth. I've been trying to keep my eye on trading and see if anybody raises their hands. But let me actually just pause right here and give an opportunity for anybody listening here on the spaces, if they have a question and want to raise their hand, to come up and ask the question over the audio channel here, or if not, feel free to put it into trading. I will mention I saw a couple of comments there. I heard you guys mention the M word, right, which is marketing, right? I think that's maybe the first time we've heard that word in a community call here, and it certainly got a lot of folks, myself included, excited here. So yeah, I think that's definitely something to look forward to here, and something that I think is needed to try to as you said, the market is maturing, and there's obviously a lot of growth, a lot of different options for individuals, and I think that marketing opportunity does sound like an excellent synergistic opportunity between both RockSolid and Rocket Pool.
Yeah, if you want, I can add a little bit more to that. So the idea is, it's like a joint collaboration between the core team and the GMC. So we're both putting in basically some money to do marketing on the Saturn launch. Mav's come up with like a marketing strategy, like a one-pager for what distribution channels we're going to be using, what content we're going to be putting out, who are our target audiences, what are the key messages, and all of that sort of thing. So we've kind of been putting that together over the last few weeks, and we've got a couple of paid distribution channels which we're talking to. So we should be able to hopefully get a bit of saturation when we launch. So that's really exciting. I mean, obviously, we're looking forward to getting Saturn out the door. It's still kind of in audit at the moment, but we're coming to the pointy end of the audits with the fixed checks. But once we can kind of like get that out, we can unleash the marketing and get that saturation, and then it will be kind of like a bit of a reboot, I think, for Rocket Pool going into like January. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, thanks for that additional kind of information here. Lots going on. I'm still looking to see if there's any hands in there, but yeah, I will mention that next week Mav wasn't able to join this week, but next week I know Langers, we're hosting you, and we'll talk a little bit more about Saturn and the latest on that, and kind of the start of Dev Connect week, right? I think it's the last opportunity we'll have a chance to talk with before we do the in-person one at Dev Connect. But to the folks at RockSolid here, I guess you too are also going to Dev Connect. You guys want to talk anything about some of I saw your names on a couple of talks. You want to give any foreshadowing about where you're going to be or what you're going to talk about?
Yeah, so Steve's, we've got 2 speaking slots for Steve so far. He's at Staking Summit and Staking Gathering. And Morpho is also hosting a Vault Summit that we're kind of in the organization stages of trying to get there as well. So yeah, hopefully there'll be sort of 3 chances to see us speak live, and yeah, of course we'll be at the Rocket Pool community meetup as well. So yeah, it'd be awesome to meet whoever's there in person, and yeah.
Will there be any swag, Ben?
Yeah, I just saw in trading there was a demand for swag. Yes, we'll bring some swag.
Yeah, and I don't know why it surprises me, but yeah, I guess it makes sense that there would be a part of the Ethereum conference that's about vaults, right? I mean, it seems like there's I don't know how many there are. I've lost track now trying to keep up with the number of side events and meetups and that sort of stuff. But I guess it shouldn't surprise me that there's a whole ecosystem for just vault strategy folks as well, too, huh?
Yep, absolutely. It's a maturing space.
Yeah.
The list of side events that Mav sent us to sign up for is massive. I don't think we're going to be going to all of them, but it's going to be interesting because and actually a lot of them really are interesting. So I'm looking forward to Dev Connect actually. I'll be speaking at the East Staker Gathering on one of the days, so that'd be good. Yeah, we'll be mooching around Dev Connect that whole week. So yeah, good to catch up with some of the community members who are around.
Yeah, and I suppose we'll hear from Mav. I know he's got just maybe a couple of just logistical things here for the community as a whole. There is, I guess, 2 official sentiment polls and 1 informal one. If you are planning to attend Dev Connect, I guess for everybody, many of these talks at Dev Connect will be recorded. Many of them will be live streamed live. So even if you're unable to travel to Buenos Aires in the coming couple of weeks here, there still is a lot of travel grants and tickets available, but even if you can't make it, a lot of the content is going to be put up online, if not even live streamed. So you can certainly participate in there. There is just tremendous dump of information that's going to happen at this thing, which everybody's kind of getting their maps and strategies for. And then the other 2, but one of the polls is in the Dev Connect thread and the conferences channel. You have to go to conferences and then subscribe to the threads, look for the threads. There's a poll in there about when the Rocket Pool RockSolid meetup should happen. It seems like Monday evening is I think it's the 17th of November is the trending one, but definitely cast your vote in there. And then there are 2 official DAO settlement polls that are happening right now in the DAO forum. One of those is about closing the deposit pool a little sooner to kind of ease the transition from the existing mini pool queue to the Saturn 1 queue, kind of ahead of the launch. I think the initial vote was about 2 weeks, but it seems like the settlement is indicating we should probably close it a little bit more sooner than that, give us a little bit longer transition leadway for it. So cast your sentiment there. And then another one regarding something else in there, but I apologize, I can't remember what it is, but it's in the sentiment poll. I don't know, Langers, if you recall what that other one is.
I think there's one on the default bridge provider for non-rollup chains. So there's a sentiment poll on the DAO forum around that. I'll probably put out like a full protocol announcement about that today, just to get some more eyes on it, and to figure out whether we need to go to like a full vote or something. But yeah, so that's I'll put an announcement about that today.
That actually might be a third or fourth one. Dr. D here is reminding me that it's also about the express ticket queues, right? Which I think we'll have a little bit more to explore next week in there. But there's a thought about and even yet another one about GMC membership and kind of reducing the number of members that are on the grants and management committee. So I guess there's maybe 3 or 4 actual real sentiment polls that are in there that we're looking for input on. So if you're listening to this and haven't had a chance to look into these things, hop into the Discord, hop onto the DAO forum, and look for these things and express your signaling interest here. Well, as we kind of close up here a little bit, first from kind of the RockSolid folks, anything that we haven't covered in today's talk that you feel it's important for the rETH community or the Rocket Pool community in general to know?
No, I think it was pretty comprehensive. Yeah, I'd just say that, yeah, you can, if anyone wants to reach us, you can reach us on Twitter via this official account. We've also got the RockSolid Vault channel within the Rocket Pool Discord. I know, basically everyone I see on the call is in there as well. But yeah, we're super responsive, happy to like answer any questions one-on-one. Yeah, we love to chat to community members, real community members. So yeah, don't be shy to reach out to us.
I think it was comprehensive. Thanks for having us, Ken.
Yeah, it's always an absolute pleasure to host you guys on here for it. I'm looking very much to chatting with you a little bit more when we're in Dev Connect. And then I guess Langers, to you for kind of the last words. Anything from your point of view, any alpha you can share or foreshadowing for kind of next week? Anything from the team that you feel that the community should probably know?
No, we've got quite a few BD things going on in the background. I can probably save those for next week, but those guys. We're doing some stuff, mainly at the moment it's the auditors and fixed checks and that sort of thing. We are kicking off discussions around rETH redemptions, so the scoping and design. So trying to get the ball rolling and keep the momentum up in terms of our releases. So kicking off a discussion around that. Just lots of things converging, which is really good.
Yeah, well, the joys of X, I don't know if it was just me or if it came across clear, but you roboted voice a little bit there. I think I got the genesis of it, just a few updates, but nothing critical. That can't wait till next week here. But let me know if that wasn't what you said and we missed some prime alpha there.
No, I'll cover it off when we do it for next week, I think. But yeah, just saying that there's quite a few BD relationships that we're progressing. Things are kind of like converging in terms of the releases and basically lots of things converging, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, excellent. All right. Well, again, Steve and Ben, thank you very much for joining us here. It's an absolute pleasure here. I guess if folks want to learn more about RockSolid or get in touch with you, what's the best way that they can do that?
Yeah, you can DM us on this account or ping us in the RockSolid Vault channel on the Rockerpool Discord.
Excellent. And the website one more time for those that are interested.
It's rocksolid.network.
Perfect. Well, again, the absolute pleasure talking to all three of you and everyone else here in the community. And I think we'll wrap up today's call, and I'll chat with you guys all in trading later on.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Ken. Cheers, everybody.
All right. See you next week.